To begin, I'm not seeing Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner and I have known each other for about 30 years, and I don't think we'll date anytime soon. It was that famous scene where Sharon Stone crossed her legs on TV that made her one of Hollywood's biggest sex icons. A few years later, she fell down suddenly and had a brain bleed that lasted for 9 days. She had a 1% chance of living, but a miracle happened and she did. She lost her memory and her ability to walk, though. Her husband split up with her, married someone else, and then fought over who would have care of their child. She was turned down by Hollywood and made into a joke. How did Sharon Stone rise from the ashes? She went from being famous to being alone. Story will definitely make you feel something. Sharon Stone was born in Meadville, Pennsylvania on March 10th, 1958. It was a small town where industry and farms were the center of life. She was the second of 4 children and grew up in a simple home where her father, Joseph Stone, worked as a factory worker, and her mother, Dorothy, did both accounting and housework. They weren't rich, but that was never really a problem. Sharon was different from a very young age. She could walk and talk before she turned 1. Not long after that, people around her started to notice how smart she was. She got 154 on an IQ test, which means she is a real genius. But her intelligence made her feel even more alone in the world. Her classmates thought she was the weirdest person in the class, not just the smartest. Her friends made fun of her by calling her a reader and a weirdo. Sharon slowly learned to be okay with being alone, but she always felt like a stranger. People didn't want to be around her, but the world inside her house was even worse. Sharon was scared all the time for years because she had a terrible secret she couldn't tell anyone. Her grandfather had abused her, which made her youth a long, painful time full of fear and worry. She buried the thoughts deep, making herself forget about them as if they had never happened. But that kind of pain never goes away. It just waits for the right time to come back up. Years later in therapy, the horrible memories came racing back like a nightmare that had been hidden for a long time. Sharon first told this scary fact in her autobiography, The Beauty of Living Twice. Aside from being abused, she was also told that her grandpa would kill her if she ever spoke out. She had nowhere to run and no one to turn to when she was a kid. Every day was a fight to stay alive, and every night was a fight against fear. Sharon's grandmother did something that no one saw coming when her grandpa died. She locked the door and made Sharon and her sister stand and look at his dead body without being able to say anything or cry. The nightmare ended at that moment, but the pain did not. Her own father made the wounds from her youth even worse. When it came to discipline, Joseph Stone was very strict. In fact, he was so strict that he often hit his kids very hard. Sharon decided she had had enough when she was 14. She stood her ground, looked him in the eye, and asked, "Do you need to hit me again to feel like a man?" One day, he yelled at her. Those words hit him like a shock. Joseph Stone stopped moving and started crying. Sharon saw her dad that week for the first and only time that day. He never touched his kids again. Another terrible thing that happened to her as a child happened at school. Even though she did very well in school, her friends made fun of her. She didn't have many real friends. Others thought she was the ugly duckling because she didn't look like most people think of as beautiful. Then fate struck again with an accident that changed everything. Sharon was 14 years old when she was riding a horse when the horse suddenly sprang forward and threw her off. She hurt her neck badly, hard to the ground after getting caught in a net. For years, the pain kept coming back, a steady warning of how fragile life could be. Even though she had been hurt, Sharon kept doing well in school. She got out of high school early at age 15 and got a scholarship to Edinburgh University. She knew she didn't belong on campus as soon as she stepped foot there, though. She felt like she had no way out of her life. To make things better in her life, Sharon Stone knew she had to leave Meadville. Chances don't just arrive, though. You have to choose to take them. And a beauty show was the first thing that changed her. Sharon had never thought of herself as a beauty queen, but her family and friends told her to join a local competition, so she did. To her surprise, she won, even though she didn't think she would. She wasn't just wearing that title for no reason. It was her ticket out of the small town. Soon after, she got a job offer to be a model in New York. Sharon learned very quickly that the fashion world was a cruel place to work. She signed with the Ford modeling agency and was in a few magazines, but she wasn't happy with her job. It felt empty to stand in front of the camera in fancy clothes and pose without saying anything or showing how they felt. She had more goals than just being a model, and she wanted more. Her new dream was to be an actress, but Hollywood wasn't friendly. As she went to casting calls, she kept getting turned down. People told her she wasn't hot enough and that she didn't have the sultry appeal of a Maine lady. At the time, directors thought Sharon Stone was just a girl from a small town with sharp features who lacked the softness that made a beauty for the big screen. But she would find her own way to prove herself if Hollywood was going to throw her out for that. In 1980, she got her first break in movies when she got a small part in Stardust Memories, which was directed by the famous Woody Allen. It was a brief showing with no words or anything else that stands out, but it was a big deal for Sharon. She had entered the field she had always wanted to work in. She kept looking for work over the next few years, getting parts in Deadly Blessing, 1981, and Irreconcilable Differences, 1984. The entertainment business didn't pay much attention to her, even though she worked with bigger stars. After that, Basic Instinct changed Sharon Stone's life in ways she never thought possible in 1992. You could never really call her a Hollywood star before that. She was just a good actor. But when she played Catherine Tremo, a mysterious, attractive, and smart woman, everything changed in an instant. Sharon Stone went from being a little-known actor to a sex icon around the world. It wasn't a shocking plot twist or a line of razor-sharp dialogue that made the world go crazy. It was the most controversial leg-crossing moment in movie history. Catherine Tremell sat quietly in a small interrogation room while a group of officers tried to find a crime link between her and the room. With sharp eyes and a defiant smirk, she dodged their questions with ease, changing the questioning into a tense fight of the wits. The part that wasn't in the script, though, was when Sharon Stone lifted her leg and crossed it over to the other side. Hollywood was on fire after just a few seconds of the shot. The scene was played over and over again, and it became one of the most paused scenes in movie history. In a later VA1 poll, it was named the sexiest leg-crossing scene on TV. Sharon Stone's fame took off quickly, but not because of her playing. It was because of a picture she made that she didn't even know she made. Ever confirmed these rumors in public, the truth was clear. They broke up in a tense situation and didn't respect each other afterward. When Sharon Stone thought about the relationship years later, she didn't try to hide how much she disliked it. "Dating Dwight was the biggest mistake of my life," she said one time. But that wasn't even the most shocking thing she said. When asked about her relationship with Dwight in a different situation, she said something very mean. Kissing Dwight was like eating a dirt sandwich. In a 1995 interview with the Orlando Sentinel, he said this as a serious matter, not just as a joke. Sharon didn't think twice when asked if she really said that Dwight's kiss was like a dirty sandwich. "Yes, I did say it," she said. How much she felt bad about the relationship was clear from her answer alone. Dwight Yoakam, on the other hand, decided to keep quiet. When asked about Sharon in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, all he said was, "I had just broken up with someone I had been seeing for 5 years and was emotionally shaky. He dated me." That was a short, emotionless answer, as if their connection hadn't been worth remembering. They didn't talk about the real reasons they broke up, but it was clear from how they reacted that this was something they both wanted to leave behind. Sharon Stone went on with her life as a single woman. In later years, she even tried to find love on the dating app Bumble. Dwight Yoakam, meanwhile, found peace. After being together for 10 years, he married photographer Emily Joyce in 2020. Both Sharon Stone and Dwight Yoakam have moved on since their breakup, but the way they acted afterward, especially Sharon's mean words, makes it seem like this wasn't just another split. She felt bad about that part of her life. It was also the first of many relationships that Sharon Stone would go through that caused her more pain than pleasure. As soon as Sharon Stone broke up with Dwight Yoakam, she started dating film director William J. McDonald. This time they weren't just dating, they got engaged, which made it look like they were ready to marry. Even though this romance seemed like a more stable part of Sharon's love life, it ended in just as much trouble. On the set of the 1993 movie Sliver, where MacDonald was one of the directors, Sharon and William met. The trouble wasn't with how their relationship grew, but with when it did. As of the time he met Sharon, William MacDonald had only been married to Naomi Baca for 5 months. This made Sharon and William's relationship a scandal right away, which led to the obvious question. Was this real love, or just an affair that looked like something real? William didn't wait long to leave his wife for Sharon and make their relationship public. Naomi, who used to be married to MacDonald's, wasn't happy when she heard that they were getting married. MacDonald didn't say nothing. She instead called Sharon Stone a home wrecker in public. Naomi said this mean thing about her on the gossip show A Current Affair. She's heartless and cruel. My dream was taken away by Sharon Stone. She took my husband. The media went crazy over her claims, and Sharon became the focus of a lot of attention. As the pressure on Sharon Stone grew, her spokesperson supported her by saying that the actor had not been seeing MacDonald until after he filed for divorce. The answer wasn't very believable, though, because everything happened so quickly. Many people were not sure about MacDonald from the time he divorced his wife to the time he got engaged to Sharon. But maybe Sharon wasn't the only one in this relationship who had a reason for being there. William MacDonald wasn't just a normal director. He knew how powerful fame could be. He might have thought that dating the biggest Hollywood star at the time would help his business, or at least bring him more attention. Did he really love Sharon, or was he just using her fame to get more attention for himself? Even though there was no proof, it's hard not to wonder what the man was really up to when he leaves his wife. After only 5 months of marriage, he'd engaged to a big-name movie star. It didn't matter why they were together. It didn't last long. Sharon and William broke up in 1994, less than a year after getting engaged. What made their split even worse was how they got together in the first place. Sharon Stone not only broke off the engagement, but she also sent back the engagement ring via FedEx. It was a cold, final move that made it seem like she wanted to erase this part of her life from memory. The media jumped right on the chance to make money off of the drama. People thought Sharon's way of returning the ring made a strong point. It showed she didn't feel bad about what she did. The Hollywood newspapers were full of rumors. Sharon may have known she was being used, but did she choose to leave because she knew this wasn't the love she had hoped for? As for William J. MacDonald, he kept working in movies. But Sharon Stone was no longer connected to his name. Sharon, on the other hand, moved on to find real love after yet another relationship that got a lot of attention. But unfortunately, she still had a lot of problems in her love life. Sharon Stone had what she wanted by the time she was 40. In Hollywood, she was one of the most powerful actors, and her work was very successful. She was now dating Phil Bronstein, who used to be the executive editor of the San Francisco Examiner and later led the San Francisco Chronicle. During the late 1990s, they met, and Phil seemed like the ideal partner for Sharon. He was smart, successful, good-looking, and had the charm of a strong man. They quickly became one of Hollywood's golden couples, and every time they were seen together, the media paid attention. Their wedding, which felt like something out of a fairy tale, took place on February 14th, 1998. As the press called it, it was a dream relationship. For Sharon, it was the start of the family happiness she had always wanted. But she was in a lot of physical and mental pain behind her beautiful exterior. Sharon had always wanted to have a real child while she was with Bronstein, but her body told her she couldn't. She had endometriosis and an autoimmune disease that made it impossible for her to take a baby to term. She had 9 miscarriages over the years. Each pregnancy gave her a little hope, but they all ended in pain and blood. She was in unbearable pain, cried herself to sleep many nights, and felt happy when she saw the red lines on a pregnancy test, only to watch it all go away. She didn't give up hope, but each loss broke her even more. Sharon and Phil chose to adopt in the end. They had a beautiful boy named Rowan Joseph Bronstein in 2000. He had big, round eyes. At that point, he was the only bright spot in Sharon's life. The outside world thought Sharon Stone had found her happily ever after. She had a small but perfect family, a husband who did well, and a son she loved. But she couldn't stay happy for long because of bad luck. It all started with a sign that looked like it was safe. Sharon Stone got a terrible headache in Milan, Italy, while she was at a high-class fashion show. It felt like someone had hit her in the head. From the base of her neck, a frightening pressure rose and spread across her head, making her feel like an unseen force was crushing her head from the inside. No one thought it was a big deal. Maybe it was just a headache from the bright stage lights or a tiring schedule. After that, things got cloudy. The space around her moved and voices got farther away. She stumbled forward and then fell in the middle of the runway. The whole room broke out into chaos. Voices called out and medical staff rushed towards Sharon Stone, but she couldn't answer, move, or control her body. It got dark. The next day, back in the USS, it became a real nightmare. While she was at home one evening, she felt a terrible pain that was like a lightning bolt going through her body. Without any warning or buildup, there was just a storm in her head that made her fall backwards off the couch and hit her head on the table before she fell to the floor. It felt like Zeus had hit her with a lightning bolt. It felt like her brain was being ripped apart from the inside. Every nerve in her body screamed in pain. She tried hard to breathe and scream for help, but she couldn't get a sound out. When she opened her eyes, she saw flashing lights in the sky and blurry people moving quickly around her. She was on a bed and being rolled down a cold hospital hallway. The wheels were making loud noises as they hit the floor. She wasn't being told what was going on. She had forgotten everything. It felt like she couldn't remember anything. Everything was broken up. Thoughts were fuzzy and cloudy in her mind. Her movies and the people she used to know were broken into pieces she couldn't put back together. For 9 days, Sharon had been having a brain bleed. During that time, her back, head, face, and neck were filled with blood. Every second that went by brought her closer to death. The pain was too much to describe. It wasn't just pain, it was ruin, torture, and pure agony from the inside out. Things got out of hand quickly. Doctors talked about it right in front of her. Voices were quick and tense. They talked about brain surgery and the chance of taking out a piece of her skull. The risks were unthinkable, but no one told her if the surgery would be successful. While she was fighting for her life, a stranger was also in the hospital. He then took his last breath right in front of Sharon's eyes. The sight burned into her mind like a nightmare that she couldn't shake. Death was so close to her that she could feel it. She knew she could be the next person to die. At that very moment, one thought came to mind. Her mother. She told her mother over the phone. Mom having a brain hemorrhage with the last bit of power in her weak voice. On the other end, her mother only said 4 words. I'm coming. I love you. She knew she was standing on the last line of defense between life and death when the call stopped. As the pain got worse and everything became fuzzy, she saw the light, and it wasn't like the cold glow of hospital lights. It was warmer, brighter, and calmer. She felt like she was being led somewhere else as a soothing wave hit her. The pain went away. The fear went away. But then something stopped her. In that hazy light, she saw her little son, Roan, who she knew. He looked at her with eyes that were pure. He wasn't old enough to understand what was going on, but he knew he needed his mother. She was unable to leave. She was not going to leave her son. After the scary dream, Sharon Stone thought she had beaten death when she opened her eyes. But she didn't know that the real fight was just getting started. She was so weak, pale, and losing weight when she left the hospital that she hardly recognized herself in the mirror. Around 18% of her body mass was gone. Her right leg was too weak to hold her weight, so it dragged behind her. She couldn't even write her own name because her hands were shaking so badly. She couldn't read anymore. She stuttered all the time. She lost control of her words. She almost forgot everything. Every day was a crazy loop of forgetting everything and trying very hard to learn it all over again. She looked for help, but there were no services that could help her with what she was going through. She couldn't walk properly again, and she couldn't stop mumbling. There was also no insurance to pay for the years of therapy she would need. She wouldn't give up. Sharon Stone changed how she trained herself day by day. She struggled with her own mind to get back what had been taken from her. She learned to write her name from scratch and spoke slowly and carefully in front of a mirror. She talked to neurologists about ways to keep her mind active and make all of her muscles and reflexes stronger, no matter how small. She fought for herself every hour, every second. She remembered a strange meeting with a Buddhist monk who told her, "You have come back to life in this body." That phrase kept coming back to her. She really did feel like she had died and come back to life as someone else. Her smell, sight, and touch were all different. She couldn't read books or think about the world the way she used to for years. Sharon Stone didn't fully get better for 7 long years, but just as she was getting back on her feet, life dealt her another terrible blow. Sharon Stone thought that her family was still waiting for her when she got home from the hospital. She was sure that Phil Bronstein, the man she married in 1998, would be there for her and hold her hand through the hardest times. She was wrong. She came home still weak and frail, and right away she got terrible news. Phil Bronstein had filed for divorce. It was too much to handle the shock. Her ears were shocked by what she heard. The man she used to trust had already moved on to another woman while she was learning how to talk and write again. That wasn't the end of it. He went to court against her to get full custody of their son. Sharon couldn't understand why her husband, who had promised to love her through sickness and suffering, was now making her feel worse. She wasn't strong enough to fight in court, though. She was sick and tired enough that she couldn't stand the trials or fight an army of lawyers. She lost everything in the end. Her son, Roan Joseph Bronstein, who she had fought so hard to have, would mostly live with Bronstein, the court said. Sharon was only allowed to visit occasionally. She had been broken. "Do you know your mother starred in an adult film?" the judge asked Roan in court. That question cut Sharon right to the heart. People thought she wasn't fit to be a mother because of a movie she made 10 years ago. She had lost her child because she was naked for 16ths of a second in Basic Instinct. She couldn't believe she was still getting in trouble for something that happened years ago, when being naked on TV was seen as normal. It didn't end there. The judge also said she was too worried about Roan's health and brought up the ridiculous claim that she had suggested that he get buttocks shots in his feet to stop them from smelling bad. Sharon strongly denied this claim. It was too late, though. In 2008, she lost the fight for custody. Roan stayed with Bronstein, and Sharon was taken out of the life of her own boy. The woman who used to have everything lost her husband, her child, and her family in just a few short years. The nightmare wasn't over yet, though. She found out her bank account was empty, while she was still very sad about losing her son. The $18 million she had worked her whole life to earn was gone. Everything she owned, like her fridge and phone, was charged to someone else. Sharon Stone had nothing left. Now she had only one option: either die and never come back, or rise and take it all back. Losing control of her son was the worst thing that ever happened to Sharon Stone emotionally. Being turned down by Hollywood was the last straw in her career. Sharon used to be a famous actor, but all of a sudden, no one wanted to talk about her. She quickly realized, Hollywood no longer has a place for you. No one was ready for her to come back. She used to have a lot of film offers and rich contracts coming to her door, but they're all gone now. The producers and directors who used to be interested in her and call her their muse no longer wanted anything to do with her. And when she tried to find new possibilities, she was turned down in a cold, unwilling way. "You're not as popular as you used to be. You're too old to play the lead role. We need a face that looks younger." Sharon wasn't just turned down for jobs, but she was also made fun of by the media and her peers. The tabloids made fun of her fall, calling her a washed-up sex symbol and a has-been star whose light had faded. Even worse, the few parts she was offered were forgettable and unimportant, and they didn't help her career at all. Sharon took any stories that came her way because she wanted to stay relevant, but that only made her more of a Hollywood failure. Critics panned Catwoman, 2004, which did not do well at the box office. People thought Sharon's part as the bad guy was weak and silly. Basic Instinct 2, 2006, was a desperate effort to get back to the glory days, but it was a huge failure. The movie was called silly and out of date, And it was one of the biggest disappointments of the Bobby 2006, a movie that got good reviews, but her part was too small to have a big effect on her future. In the years that followed, none of her movies really did well. As long as she worked on small projects, Sharon Stone wasn't a star anymore. I need to get my job back. In an interview with The Times, Sharon said, I still haven't gotten back into acting. I really want to work as an actor again, and I'm just in weak, silly, or pointless parts. She did everything she could to get back into the business, but Hollywood shut the door in her face. I was shocked that I couldn't work anymore. I did everything I could to do my best. Sharon Stone fought for years to get back on track, but she finally understood one thing. Hollywood may have left her, but she would never leave herself. She changed directions and now works in art instead of movies. She showed her works in a gallery in San Francisco, showing that she didn't need to be famous in Hollywood. She also made it her mission to help women, especially those who were pushed to the edges of society and hurt by it. Sharon Stone went from being an outcast actor to becoming influence. But there was one pain she couldn't get rid of, no matter how strong she got. I really want what I had before to come back to me. I need to get back to my real job. I really want to get my life back. Can Sharon Stone get Hollywood to look at her again? That answer hasn't been written yet. But one thing is for sure, she has always hoped. Sharon Stone used to be the shining star of Hollywood, but then she fell to the bottom of the pit of misery. Her health, her fame, her family, and her job were all taken away from her. She didn't want to be buried in the ashes of her past, though, like a phoenix. She didn't beg Hollywood to give her another chance. No one felt sorry for her. She fixed herself up. It was hard for her to stay alive in the years after her stroke. She had no help. No one thought she would be able to come back. It turned its back on Hollywood. People forgot about her. That being said, she never gave up. She worked hard to get back what was taken from her and learned how to walk, talk, and write all over again. 7 long, painful years. She was stronger than ever when she finally got back up. But Sharon Stone didn't just come back to life for herself. She got married again and had 2 more boys, Laird Vaughn and Quinn Kelly. She went from being a mother who had lost her kid to a strong person for 3. There was no longer a need for Hollywood approval or for the label sex symbol to describe her. She had kids, soldier, survivor. She didn't stop there either. Sharon Stone made the world a better place by being famous. She used her voice for something bigger when Hollywood was ready to throw her out. She raised more than $34 million for medical studies and became one of the most well-known people fighting HIV/AIDS. She built schools, helped kids who were poor, and spoke up for people who didn't have one. But there was a cost to standing up for other people. Speaking out about HIV/AIDS cost her movie deals. Hollywood called her difficult. But this time, she didn't need their permission. She had fought to stay alive in the past. She fought to make things better now. Sharon Stone was used as a sex symbol in Hollywood in the past, but they got rid of her when they found someone better. They forgot one thing, though. She was never just a sign. She could fight. Sharon Stone had lost everything before. She no longer had to get back what she had lost, though. Because she was born again, more powerful, with more meaning, stronger than ever. Sharon Stone isn't just a relic of a gay icon from the past or a woman Hollywood left behind anymore. When she came back to the screen at age 67, she had a new personality that was deeper, stronger, and not limited to the picture that used to define her. She has found a new part of her life full of freedom, art, and real peace after all the highs, lows, and wins. When Sharon came back in 2024, it was in the movie What About Love, where she played Linda Tarleton. She didn't stop there, though. In 2025, she will be in 2 big movies. Nobody 2 as Lena and In Memoriam as Vicky. Both are in the post-production phase right now. These projects not only show how determined she is to work in movies, but they also show that Hollywood can't keep ignoring Sharon Stone. She still acts, but it's not her only goal anymore. Painting is now important part of her life. Her art has been shown in big places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Berlin in the past few years. She is about to have an art show at Arapacis in Rome, which is one of the best art galleries in the world. In the past, she used her body and facial movements to make movies that were works of art. Now, she uses a pen to tell her stories in a way that is deeper, more personal, and freeing. Sharon Stone's new life can be seen in both her work and her public outings. At the 42nd Turin Film Festival in November 2024, she was given the Stella Della Award in recognition of her huge services to film. This event wasn't just a big deal for her job. It showed how strong she was. A woman who was turned down by Hollywood is now rising tall and taking back her heritage. On the red carpet, she wowed everyone in a beautiful red dress by Tony Ward that came with a cape that had 3,000 silk flowers on it. She didn't follow the crowd. She made them own. After only a few months in January 2025, Sharon made news again when she looked stunning at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards. Her appearance wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a strong message. Sharon Stone is still here. She still shines. She is one of a kind. Even more than that, Sharon Stone is at peace with herself. She learned that fame or love don't make you happy after everything she's been through. No more dates for me. I'm fine by myself. It's freedom not being alone. There's no longer a man she needs to feel whole. In its own way, her life is already complete. Her spirituality has also become important to her. She has a strong feeling that her late father is still with her, and she is sure that souls never really leave. For Sharon Stone, the world is much bigger than what we see, and some links will always be there, no matter what time or space says. Happiness as a choice is a simple but deep idea that guides her life now. It needs to be done every day. She doesn't wait for luck or think about the past a lot. Every single day, she makes her own happy, slowly but surely. Sharon Stone is more than just a famous actress and sex icon who shocked the world in the past. She's a phoenix. New life? From a sexual star who could only play sexy parts to a woman who lost her job, her fame, her family, and her health. From a queen Hollywood left behind to a fighter who bucked fate by fighting hard, she had it all. Sharon Stone didn't stop there, though. She didn't just make it through. She got up again, better than ever. Many people no longer only remember Sharon Stone as the sex queen of the 1990s. In its place, she stands as a sign of strength, of a spirit that doesn't give up when things get tough. She lost everything. She didn't fall down, though. She rose. She took back who she was. She wrote her own story again. The life of Sharon Stone is not just the life of a Hollywood star. It shows how hard it is to live, to keep going, for a strong desire to keep going.